and welcome to Cyberchase Green It Up. It's time to be a nature explorer. My name is Carly and we are here today with Growing Places Indy to learn a little bit more about what compost is and how it can help our food to grow. And to help us do that, we are joined by Chris. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about where we are right now?
We are at our urban farm in the heart of Indianapolis, and specifically we are back in the location where we compost all of our food scraps.
This is your compost. Can you
It is.
explain what is going on here with the compost?
Yeah. So we put all of our old food scraps in here, and we have very helpful friends called mycelium and bacteria and worms and other bugs, and they decompose the food and break it all down back into nutrients that we can then give back to our plants to help them grow. These worms, called red wigglers, break down the food by eating it and pooping out what's called worm castings that we can then give back to our plants.
So you grow plants, and I see some onions, some other vegetable plants in here, and you put them together, and then the helpers break them down, and then you can use this and put it back into the garden. Is that
Yes.
right? Cool. So why is it better to put things like onions in a compost instead of putting it in your trash?
In the trash, it will waste space, go into a landfill, won't be reused for your plants, and it produces methane.
So it can be a little bit more helpful than just throwing it in the trash. You can actually create something new with your food scraps.
Exactly.
So what do you do with your compost here once it's ready to go?
Once it's ready to go, when we're prepping our beds and getting ready to plant our garden, we just put it on the top. Or if our plant's already growing and it needs a little extra nutrients, we'll put the compost around the base of the plant so it has that available to it.
Very cool. So can anybody make compost at home?
Yes, it's very easy to do.
What kinds of things do you need to make compost?
You can get 2 buckets, drill a hole in the bottom of one of the buckets, stick it in the other, and then fill it with some leaves and get your worms, and then you can add any of your food scraps in there.
So it seems pretty easy. You just need a container, some worms, some scraps, put it all together, and then eventually you'll have this nice, rich soil to use.
Yep.
Well, thanks so much. I know I learned a lot about composting, and I hope you guys did too. And I hope you'll be encouraged to make some of your own compost at home. Let's learn a little bit more about composting as we watch this clip from the Cyberchase episode, Composting in the Clutch, while Jaden shows us how to make compost. Now, while you're watching the video, I want you to use your observation skills to see if you notice what all goes into the compost to make the new soil.
Stay right where you are. It's Cyberchase for real.
My cousin Kimmy helped me plant vegetables in the community garden, and yesterday I invited her over to eat what we grew.
There's nothing better than a fresh salad for lunch.
Except when you grow the ingredients yourself.
Oh, look, here's a tomato that you grew.
Wow.
There's more on the plant, too. Wait, don't throw that out.
Why?
That's food.
That's the food. This is garbage.
Actually, that's food for the plants. They love salad, too.
But these are parts of the plants. Can you please explain?
Okay, when we prepare food to eat, what happens to the scraps?
We throw them out.
Right, and where do they go?
The garbage collectors take it away?
Correct. They take it to an incinerator or a landfill, and neither is good for the environment.
So what should we do that is good for the environment?
Well, we have a composter for all of our fruit and vegetable scraps.
What's a composter?
A composter breaks down the parts of fruits and vegetables that we don't eat and turns them into something nutritious for plants. Let's go outside. I'll show you one. Compost has ingredients that keep the soil healthy and make plants grow better.
What else is in compost besides the food scraps?
There are 2 main ingredients, green stuff and brown stuff. There's 2/3 brown and 1/3 green. They mix with air and water, and that breaks them down into smaller parts.
But these scraps aren't all green. They're orange from the carrot peels, red from the peppers and radishes.
Greens are fruit and vegetable scraps and grass clippings. Browns are things like dried leaves, twigs, and things like corn husks.
What's in the other side?
This side has been working for a while and is almost ready for the garden. Want to see what it looks like?
Oh, it's a little warm. And look, there's a worm. Is he dessert for the plants?
No, we put worms inside of the compost to get it ready sooner. But there are millions of other little things that you can't see which are helping the compost along.
How can you tell which side of the worm is the head and which is the tail?
You tickle it in the middle and see which side laughs.
What were you able to observe while watching that video clip? What things did Jaden put into his compost pile? What are green materials and what are brown materials? And why did Jaden want to make his compost? Now that we've learned a little bit about what compost is, how to make it, and what it's going to be used for, I'm going to show you how you can make your own compost at home. All you need are some soil, which you could get at a garden center or even in your backyard, but make sure you ask a grown-up first before you start digging anywhere. You need to get some brown materials like we have here, some leaves, some torn up paper bag, and some eggshells. And you'll also need some green materials like this lettuce, some grass clippings, slices from an apple, and even some coffee grounds, which are great for worms. Which you'll need here, just a couple of earthworms to add to your compost. Then you'll also need a container to put your compost in and some water. Once you have all your materials together, you want to open up your container and start layering the materials inside, starting with a layer of your soil. All right, once you have your soil in there, then we're going to add some of our brown materials in, like these dried brown leaves. Paper bags are going inside. And let's add a couple of our eggshells in. You can crunch them up if you want or put them in whole. And then we want to add our green materials. And again, remember, you want twice as many green materials as you have your brown materials. So we're going to go ahead and add our lettuce, some of our grass clippings, put in some of our apple peels, and finally add a little bit of our coffee grounds. You're gonna do that a few times, adding a layer of soil, the brown materials, the green materials, and once it's about 2/3 full, you're gonna pour in some of your water and make sure everything gets nice and moist and mixed up together. And then it's time to add in your earthworms. So we have our little earthworm here who's gonna go into our compost and help start breaking down our food scraps and turning it into soil. Once you have everything into your compost and it's filled up, you're going to want to set your compost in a nice, cool room temperature area that's outside of direct sunlight. And this is going to take a few weeks for your compost to start breaking down. And I want you to open it after a few weeks, kind of stir it around to get things nice and mixed up. And then I want you to use your observation skills and see what you notice about your compost. How has it changed? How has it stayed the same? Do you notice anything weird about it? Any funny smells? And what might you need to change about your compost to make sure that it stays nice and healthy? It's going to take a while, about 3 months for your compost to really start breaking down and to turn into soil. But eventually you'll have nice, fresh, natural compost that you can use in your garden at home. Thanks so much for learning a little bit more about what composting is, how it's made, and how it can help fruits and vegetables grow in the garden. And thanks to Growing Places Indy for having us out on their farm and showing us how they make and use their compost. If you want to watch more videos like this or find more activities, visit WFYI.org/curiosity.